So I heard you guys loud and clear. In cup 6, I ground my coffee, and someone made a comment. They're like, it's distracting, don't grind your coffee. And then the sound of this thing was making too much sound too. And so then in cup 7, I decided to preheat my water and then pre-grind my coffee. And then plenty of people were like, dude, you're fine. Just do it the way you want to do it. And so we're back to doing it my way. And the reason why I want to do it my way is because I feel that the process is important to me. Guys, I think I figured it out. I think I figured out how to fix gaming. Can you believe it? It's freaking tree. You've been bothering me since cup 4, Tree. But, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to... Oh, yeah. Tree didn't think that was coming. We're back on Verve, but we're doing a different brew method today. We're going Kalita because we dialed in the V60 in cup, I think it was 5, 6, 7. I think we dialed in the V60. And so now in cup 8, we are going to be doing it here with the Kalita Wave. Fixing gaming. Gaming has felt kind of weird these past couple of years. I know for me, it's actually felt weird for the past decade, but I think it's because we have so much access to information. That was so cool. And because of the access to information, we end up being overstimulated by everything. And it was something I talked about a little bit in Cup 7 is that, there was this overstimulation to the point of gamer fatigue. And there was a specific point that I made in Cup 7, which is what I want to talk about here in Cup 8, and that is that gamer fatigue is, I think, coming from the the reviews and the influencers now, and all the different people talking about the games and pretty much crapping all over the games and all this kind of stuff. And I think that it's become the norm to expect to get a bunch of access, especially with the new, well, it's not really new, but with this big thing about streaming. Lock in the air. Locked in. And so you get a game that comes out, and we either A, are fans of the franchise and will buy it regardless, or B, we're on the fence, so we don't know which direction to go, and therefore we end up relying on creators, because this is the new frontier. Something that I'm a part of. Creators, influencers, right? I do not refer to myself in that sense, but influencers to give us the information that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten without their input. We're going a little bit coarser today because with the Kalita, you go coarser, and yeah. Now, I think something that I have fallen victim to and have been guilty of doing myself is going to creators for their opinions. I don't think that there's anything wrong with going to creators for their opinions. I am one of them. But I think that where a lot of this has changed is that this has become pretty much commonplace, where we'll wait to go see a game being streamed, and when it gets streamed, we, oh, this doesn't look good, or we have the unfortunate new thing, which is, I think it's Gamer Rant X and Digital Foundry. I don't think there's anything wrong with those two channels. I personally think that those two channels offer great information. Now, where I think that we have run into potentially an issue is that those two channels do, I think Gamer Rant, I could be wrong that it's not this channel, does the before you buy thing. And that could dramatically sway people's decision either way. I don't necessarily believe that more information is bad. And maybe I'm just stuck in this older age of gaming where you just got it. I don't know. I think that honestly we have an opportunity to potentially shift this narrative. And I'm hoping that you guys are going to join me in this change of direction. If you're sitting here drinking cups of coffee with me, this cup 8, if you've been here through cups 1 through 7 already, thank you. If you want to, go back and see what cups 1 through 7 are all about, they're all there. I'm hoping to get these a little bit more concise. I don't know if 30 to 40 minutes is necessarily going to be the continuous thing. I think getting it closer to 20 might be a little bit more realistic, but it is going to be unedited regardless. I think that this format gives me an opportunity to have a conversation that would be very normal for us. If you were coming to my coffee shop and saying, hey, JD, I would love to have that Rwanda. Can you make it in the Kalita for me? And I'd be like, yeah, sure, bro. Let's chat. What are you playing right now? And you would tell me, oh, dude, I don't know. I've been thinking about potentially getting into Modern Warfare 3, but I've been seeing all these reviews lately, and I just don't know if it's a game for me. And I would look at you and say, hey, bud, well, have you played Modern Warfare 3 before? I mean, not Modern Warfare 3. Have you played Call of Duty before? And you would, look at me and either say yes or no. And then after that, we'd have a conversation about, hey, I don't know. I think that, potentially this 3-hour campaign, and I know that I've talked about Modern Warfare 3 multiple times, but I think that this is such a good example of what we're dealing with right now currently, is we're dealing with this really weird expectation. I think that game companies should make good games, right? I don't think that expecting to have a game that is good is a bad expectation. I think that we should, as consumers and as fans, and most of all, as people playing video games, also known as gamers, should be able to be given a game that is one of, a few things. One, complete. I think that's really important, and we're seeing that less and less as time has gone on. And two, I think the most important, good, like actually good. Now, I know that could potentially be subjective, and I'm not here to say that what I think is good is what everyone should think is good. But what I am here to say is this. When it comes to this new way of gathering information, whether it's from marketers or from influencers, your favorite gamers on the internet, when you see Dr. Disrespect say that Modern Warfare 3 is trash, and then now you have to think it's trash, I think that we find ourselves in a really peculiar situation where the enjoyment of video games is contingent on what I would guess these people are considered the gaming Sanhedrin. If you guys know your biblical knowledge, then you know what the Sanhedrin is. Basically a collection of religious leaders making decisions for the populace. And I think that this is a very, very, very bad place to be, personally. Do you guys remember the days where you would see something like, I don't know, where is it? Just for the sake of example. Let's just do this. Let's just pull this out. Pokemon Y. It's coming out. Let's get Pokemon Y. Can you stream Pokemon? I actually have Pokemon Y. Okay, I have Pokemon Y. Can you stream Pokemon Y on a 3DS easily? No. Is it possible? Sure, if you use 2 cameras maybe, and potentially if you hack your 3DS, you can do it. But realistically, it's not really a possibility when it comes to streaming this. Should I get Pokemon Y? Well, I like Pokemon. I'm going to go grab it. Maybe Pokemon was a bad example, but you're like, hey, I'm going to get the Pokemon game. Do you wait to hear about it? Or do you start playing it and then you see that everyone else doesn't like it, but you kind of like it because everyone else doesn't like it? You now start second guessing yourself, and I'm like, well, maybe I don't like it. And then it becomes this thing where you're like, no, Pokemon Y sucks. Even though when you started playing it, you were like, dude, this game is freaking tight. I think that this is a huge, huge problem. And I was having a conversation with my buddy, Steven, my brother, who you guys will eventually see in some of these delicious cups, drinking cups with me. But I was having a conversation with him, and he said he talked to someone who worked on the new Modern Warfare in marketing. And he's like, so how has it been? He goes, dude, you can't win. You can't win. Everyone's just mad all the time, regardless of whether not we, but regardless of whether what's done is, in response to feedback, or because if we do something that is in response to feedback we're given, then it's like, this should have never been the problem in the first place. I can't believe that this existed. Of course you change it because there's the problem. But then if we do something that is potentially, us taking risks, they're like, I can't believe you changed the formula. Why would you change the formula? And it's like this continuous back and forth. And I think that is due to, this religious, almost religious Sanhedrin effect. These creators, these people who you have to please, and I think that is not, and I repeat, I really, really think that is not where gaming will succeed. I think that if gaming relies on the select few that are the loudest, that you are going to get yourself into a situation where you are not making games that are any sort of, that are different at all, that are pushing the boundaries. I think that Nintendo does a good job at doing that at times. I think that they are the kind of company that goes, we don't really care if this is, a good or bad idea, Wii U. We're going to do it anyway. And then they proceed to do it, and it's, either it fails or it doesn't, and we learn something from it. But I think that, that is a company as it stands. What I really like about Nintendo is when they do something, it's almost as if, and people criticize them for it, but I will sit here and praise them for it. They'll release something that you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And they won't even acknowledge that it's good or bad. They'll just release it. I like that. I think that is what we need more of right now. I think that in the gaming community, in gaming as a greater whole, there is a necessity for us to be like, dude, who gives a rat's butt what so-and-so says? I'm going to get this anyway. I think that as I have gotten into this and have tried to do this more and more, I have fallen, and I apologize to those of you who have potentially seen me in this light, because this is not where I want to be at all, but I have fallen into the kind of realm of, I have to have an opinion on this because that's what is going to get people to watch the videos. And that's not something that I want to do. I mean, very clear. We're on Cup 8 of a very casual, almost non, the opposite of every single thing you should do on YouTube. And that's not the recipe. I don't know what happened. I think I need to go. I just don't know what I'm tasting, and I think that's the problem. I think the flavor clarity is all over the place. Sorry for the slurps. It's how I spray it in my whole mouth to try to get the whole flavor. It's going to happen again. I'm really loud. I'm sorry. It's too bright. Under extracted. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. We need to change that recipe up a little bit. It's a little bit of a bitterness to it. I'd say if we got this to a 10 out of 10, it's not my favorite coffee. The Rwanda is not my favorite. It's good. It's really good, but it's certainly not my favorite. If we got the Rwanda on the V60 to a 10 out of 10, this is a really, really questionable 7. We'll finish it because we don't waste coffee here in this place, but we'll finish it. Back to the talk. So when I make the claim that I think I've figured out how to fix gaming, what it comes down to is I think that we have an opportunity in these coming years, even right now, I think right now is a really good thing, to start making decisions based on what you believe to be something that you're into. And I understand that, again, we have more access to anything we've ever had before. But just like when it comes to crises in the world, I think that in just about all fields, it may not be better to have more information. Now, there is certainly there's certainly people out there that can do this good or well and give an unbiased informative presentation of a video game, right? And I think that is valuable in its own right, because if you want to purchase a game that could potentially be higher in price, $70 game, I'm looking at, my favorite game right now, Final Fantasy 16. And if I was to tell you about Final Fantasy 16, how would I present it to you in a way that would not only remove my own bias from it, but also showcase how this game either plays or is produced? And so let me try it. I'm not saying that this is the way that everyone should do it, but let me try it. Final Fantasy 16 is a 40-ish hour game with a good amount of variety when it comes to objectives. You have a main story that is very, very heavy-handed. The story is linear, you're progressing, and there are moments in which you cannot go back and change something. The characters in this story are extremely important, and you are going to follow one character in particular, Clive, throughout his journey through Rosalind, I believe. Right? I forgot the name of the place. The action that is in this game, the combat style in this game is that of, it reminds me of Kingdom Hearts. It is an action style RPG where there are moments in which you can change and pick different abilities, but it isn't a turn-based RPG that you would find in one of the older, more traditional style Final Fantasies. This departure started in Final Fantasy 15, but here in Final Fantasy 16, it's a little different. You do have other people in your party, but they are, for the most part, if not completely, independent. And so you're not going to be relying on managing their things, such as in Final Fantasy 15, or even choosing which abilities that they should do, or switching to them, like in Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Now, that is the combat style. When it comes to the content in this game, you have anything from the main story objectives to side quests, which can at times feel like fetch quests, which I don't mind, because in those fetch quests, specifically one that I'm thinking of where you are continuously coming back to the story's blacksmith, you will end up doing very, very stereotypical fetch questy things, like shopping for things for him. But there is an overarching or underlying, whichever way you want to look at it, story that exists within that deepens the connection that you as the gamer, not you as Clive, but you as the gamer will have to that character. And that happens throughout a couple of the different fetch quest sequences that you will get yourself into. When it comes to how the story plays out, this is not a story in which you will have multiple sides, multiple things, all these different things at once. This is a very much so linear. This is the story that you're having. There are a couple characters that you'll get some deeper stories to, but they all pertain to Clive. I personally enjoyed the game because I have been a fan of the Final Fantasy franchise for a very, very long time. I think that Final Fantasy 16 worried me because it is an M-rated game, and I heard that the M rating was due to specific things that I think should never exist in video games, such as nudity and sexual content. And when I played the game, I realized that that wasn't really as bad. Though it did exist, it was very much so tame. And the M rating, I believe, is there not for the sexual content, but actually for the violence that exists, because some of it is very intense. The violence isn't like torture or crazy, but the story itself is not a happy story. It is a very, very compelling and deep, more human condition story, which is why I would consider this to be one of my, if not my favorite games, because it got me to think. And upon completion of this game, I genuinely felt like I was in a spot where I was different. And to this day, Cup 8, I feel like I'm different because of it. Do I think that this is the greatest game ever invented or created or whatever you want to say? No, because I don't believe that that statement should ever be publicly stated from a content creator. Because when it comes to video games, I hope that my experience can show my excitement, but doesn't at all change your decision on this game. If you think that a game like Final Fantasy 16, of which I am giving my own review, but not going to recommend, if you think that this game isn't for you because of X, Y, and Z, then I will say, then probably shouldn't get it. If you think that this game isn't for you because you don't like turn-based RPGs, which Final Fantasy series has been very, very consistent in making, I will say that this isn't one of those. And maybe that information was helpful for you. But I think that at this point in a review, this is where the reviewer will start to be like, and I think you should get this game because of X, Y, and Z, and it's a great game. And I want to say, I think that this game was a masterpiece to me, and it was stunning. And I really enjoyed playing it with my friend Chase, which we played side by side throughout the majority of the game. I ended up finishing it a couple days before him because I had a longer stint in which I could play. And then he finished it later because we're both family men, and I just so happened to have a block where I could play longer than he did, so I got to finish it. I think that this kind of narrative, that this kind of conversation around video games is what I miss. I miss that kind of talk. I miss that kind of conversation. I miss that kind of presentation, because what that is, and that is viewing, or what you just did is you viewed someone share their experience with the game. A glowing review. Let me give you a bad review. I don't have a physical, I have a digital. This is what a bad review, I believe, should look like. Splatoon 3, a game released on the Nintendo Switch. A very popular franchise. People seem to like Splatoon. I personally had a very hard time getting into Splatoon 3 because the gaming mechanics that existed and the story as well as the art style, all three of those were not appealing to me enough to take the time that I have to dedicate towards video games and invest in that specific game. I think that the game was designed well enough. I think that it looks great, but there was nothing specifically about the game that said, hey, your kid is occupied watching Bluey for 4 episodes, which means that you have precisely 33 minutes to turn on a video game system and play a game. Would you like to play Splatoon 3? Or would you like to play, anything else on this system? And when the option to play Splatoon 3 was presented to me in those instances, I personally was like, this isn't a game I want to spend time learning, because I have such limited time that I am at a point in gaming, and let me know if you guys are too, where I don't have the luxury to learn something new. I took a risk with Lies of P, which I've spoken about, I think in Cup 4. I took a risk, and I haven't come back to it. I've played the first hour, but I intend to. I think it's 4th on the list for me. Right now, the main game that I want to 100% finish is Super Mario Wonder. The other game that I'm going to one-shot, I still haven't started it yet, and I don't know if it should be streamed or if it should be a Let's Play. I don't know. I just don't know. Is going to be Modern Warfare 3. But Lies of P is on there because it was very, very entertaining, and I thought that this would be a fun experience. To bring this home, I think that gaming needs a reset. We need to change what's happening, because I think that we are in a perpetual state of negativity. I've seen it over these past couple of years. And it's not that bad games are coming out. It's that the narrative around gaming is complaining, and because of the access we have to the internet, as well as to these creators, negative views get fast clicks. And positive conversation gets very, very few. And I am, frankly, really sick and tired of seeing that consistently across the board. The amount of people I've seen complain about games over these past 2.5 years has really turned me off to even playing video games myself, because I, yes, even someone who is a part of this, am affected by that visually. And so, when it comes to moving forward, you guys already know what's happening here, but I think that we have an opportunity as a gaming community to shift the narrative from self-service, from I didn't like it, so you shouldn't play it either, to thoughtful conversation. Let's talk about it. Hey, this didn't hit home for me. Let's talk about a game that I think is universally considered just not well done. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. You want to know my criticism for that game? Because I can go any direction, and I think that there are plenty of people that will rally behind and be like, I agree. Here's my criticism. I have not found myself particularly interested in a Pokemon game since they broke the linear format. I am someone who is a sucker for the linear format. And since they broke that, there isn't really much there for me. If Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was linear and still had the performance issues it had, I would enjoy it. It's not the fact that there's performance issues within Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It's the fact that it's no longer a linear style game. And it isn't exciting for me. Now, can I spend 30 minutes in a full cup? Can I spend cup 9, 10, and 11 complaining about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and not run out of reasons why that game has just missed the mark? Probably, if I look enough online at some of the big creators. But will I? No, because it's a complete waste of time, and I think that gaming needs to get back to what it does best. Play video games, gosh darn it. If you like playing video games, welcome to the community. Join us, Discord, free, completely. The Cartridge Club, which I can't use that name because someone else uses that, but the book club that we play a game together is going to be live. I've decided in December, I'm going to start it in the December season because people have extra time to play video games. We'll choose a game together. That whole thing is going to be the only way that I am able to generate an income. And so I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am going to do that through Patreon. I am going to put it behind a $5 subscription. And that is going to be the way that I decide to add additional value to you guys. But it is going to be the way that I decide to create some sort of additional income. I don't have review things to do anymore. I will review things as they come in this format. I'm not going to post affiliate links for objects and items other than coffee gear, because coffee gear, I think that we can participate in this together. But video games, I don't want to sway that, because video games are such a subjective gaming process. This is equipment to do the job that I do, right? We can do this together, okay? And so if you want to purchase the same gear that I use, and therefore we can share these experiences and recipes, then, I'll use affiliate links. But I'm not going to do that anymore. I want video games to be pure. I want them to be good again. I want this hobby to be something that we can share together completely. Like back in the day when we had Game Boys and link cables, and we'd go to our friend's house and play the games together, and we didn't complain about the performance that we played Jet Force Gemini on Nintendo 64s, and the frame drops, and Star Fox with the polygons looked great, and it wasn't all this like, this didn't age well, this is terrible, I can't believe I can't. I want it to be good again. One cup at a time, we're gonna get there. I can't even explain to you the excitement that I have, the overwhelming joy that exists within me when I think about the potential opportunities we have to get together and play video games. I think that I just convinced myself that I need to start streaming. Because that is the virtual way of doing what I want to eventually do. You want the big picture, guys? Caffeine in Consoles is a pipe dream. Thanks, Mario. Caffeine in Consoles was always supposed to be the marrying of my two absolute favorite hobbies in the whole world. Coffee and video games. I hope one day that Caffeine in Consoles can be something that we see across the world. It is a collection of people playing video games with each other. In person, online. It is a club. It is a society. It is a group. It is whatever you want to call it. Where in person we go to coffee shops and meet up locally. Orange County Caffeine in Consoles. Boston, Salt Lake City, whatever it may be. We go to a coffee shop, support that coffee shop by buying their coffee and playing video games. Whether we bring our Xboxes with our X screens or our PlayStation 5s with their screens, or we just bring our Nintendo Switches or gaming laptops. Our goal is to be a community together. That is my dream, and I will get there. One cup at a time. And there will be a mothership or a headquarters or a base or whatever you want to call it. And it will be my coffee shop. That is the goal. I hope that by cup 1000, I'm making that statement. By cup 1000, we have that. It has been said, by cup 1000, the mothership exists. I don't want to call it the mothership. That's stupid. I'll come up with something. I think home base. I think home 1, just named after the Coruscant cruiser. Home 1. I hope that home 1 exists. And by Cup 365, we have our very first giant meetup. I don't know. I think that this is something that I never expected to turn into what it did. But we have an opportunity, friends, to really shift this narrative and to make people feel welcome. And I know that that is something that I think would fix gaming. So, thanks for enjoying a cup of coffee with me. This wasn't the best cup of coffee I've made, but we know where to go from here for the Kalina. We got to dial it in. If you want that Verve coffee, join the Discord in the Caffeine and Chill part of the Discord. All of the information about coffee is going to be released there. Patreon to come. Happy gaming.